Have you ever looked at your blood pressure reading, seen a normal number on the screen, taken a deep breath of relief, and quietly told yourself that everything must be fine? Most people do. A number appears, perhaps one that falls into the acceptable range, and suddenly the mind creates a feeling of safety. It feels like receiving good news without asking more questions. But what if that moment of comfort is only part of the truth? What if the number you trust is not lying to you, yet it is not telling you the entire story either? Sometimes life teaches us lessons that go beyond medicine. Sometimes what appears calm on the surface hides movement underneath. A quiet ocean can still contain powerful currents. A bright sky can still be preparing for a storm. In the same way, the human body often whispers long before it ever screams. Many people spend years believing health can be summarized by a single measurement, a single report, or a single moment. They believe one reading defines reality. But the body was never designed to communicate through one frozen snapshot in time. It speaks through patterns. It speaks through repetition. It speaks through changes that happen quietly while life continues moving around us. Blood pressure itself is not a statue carved into stone. It is a living process that rises and falls every day. It changes when you wake up in the morning and rush to work. It changes after climbing stairs. It changes when stress enters your mind unexpectedly. It changes when you sleep, when you eat, when you feel joy, and even when you feel fear. Yet people often hold one number in their hands as if they are holding the complete truth. The interesting thing about life is that humans naturally search for certainty because certainty feels comfortable. We want a clear answer. We want a simple sentence that says everything is okay. We want to believe that one moment can predict the future. But health does not always follow our desire for simplicity. Health can be more like a story written over many pages, instead of one sentence written on a single line. This way of thinking has inspired many educational conversations around heart health, and people who follow Dr. Evan Levine often appreciate the idea that deeper understanding comes from observing the full picture rather than becoming attached to isolated moments. The body leaves clues every day, but many people overlook them because they are waiting for something dramatic to happen. The truth is that important changes often begin in silence. They begin slowly. They begin with signals so small that they can easily be ignored. And perhaps the greatest mistake people make is assuming that silence always means safety. There is something fascinating about hidden patterns because they often exist right in front of us while remaining invisible at the same time. Think about how seasons change. Winter does not arrive in a single second. The world does not suddenly wake up and announce that everything has changed overnight. Instead, tiny signals begin appearing long before people recognize them. The air becomes slightly colder. The daylight slowly shortens. Leaves begin to change colors little by little. The transformation happens quietly, and many people notice it only after it has already arrived. The human body behaves in a similar way. Blood pressure can create subtle patterns over weeks, months, and years that may never reveal themselves through one isolated reading. A person can visit a clinic, sit comfortably for a few minutes, receive a normal result, and walk away feeling completely reassured. Days later, stress may rise. Sleep may become inconsistent. Eating habits may change. Daily responsibilities may become heavier. The body reacts to every experience, every emotion, and every routine in ways that often remain hidden from immediate view. This is why understanding health requires patience. It requires observing movement rather than freezing time into one moment. It requires paying attention to the story instead of memorizing a single sentence. Yet here is where something surprising begins to happen. Imagine walking through a dark room carrying a flashlight that only turns on for 1 second every few hours. During that one brief moment, the room looks safe. You see nothing unusual. You feel comfortable continuing forward. But what if the light is missing parts of the room? What if the darkness between those brief moments contains details you never saw? What if the picture you trusted was incomplete? This is where the mystery begins. Many people spend years believing everything is normal because every occasional reading appears acceptable. They continue with life. They continue building careers, raising families, making plans, and chasing dreams. Then one day they hear something unexpected. They discover changes that develop gradually over time, changes that were never truly invisible but simply unnoticed. The suspense of health is not that danger always arrives suddenly. The suspense is realizing that the body often sends messages long before people learn how to read them. The most interesting question is not whether your blood pressure was normal today. The deeper question may be whether a pattern has been quietly forming behind the scenes while everyday life kept your attention elsewhere. That possibility can feel uncomfortable because uncertainty often makes people uneasy. Human beings naturally want certainty because certainty feels like control. Yet perhaps wisdom is not found in chasing perfect certainty. Perhaps wisdom is found in learning to observe carefully, listen patiently, and understand that health is often revealing its truth in small pieces long before the final picture becomes visible. Perhaps one of the most powerful shifts a person can make is moving from simply searching for answers to learning how to observe life more carefully. Health is not only about discovering whether something is wrong or right. It is also about understanding the language of the body before problems become impossible to ignore. People often wait for dramatic moments because dramatic moments feel important. They wait for pain that demands attention, symptoms that interrupt routines, or warnings that are impossible to miss. But the body often follows a different path. It frequently communicates through small and repeated signals that appear ordinary at first glance. A slightly different pattern of energy, changes in sleep, increased stress, daily habits becoming less balanced, and subtle shifts that seem too insignificant to matter can slowly become pieces of a larger picture. The challenge is that modern life constantly pulls attention in different directions. People rush from one responsibility to another. Days become weeks and weeks become years. During that movement, many individuals stop observing themselves with the same care they use for everything else around them. They monitor schedules, finances, work obligations, and endless responsibilities, yet they rarely pause long enough to notice the quiet messages coming from within. The lesson hidden inside understanding blood pressure may extend beyond blood pressure itself. It may become a reminder about life. One isolated moment rarely tells an entire story. One difficult day does not define a person. One success does not guarantee a future. One setback does not predict failure. And one normal reading cannot always reveal the complete reality of health. Meaning often exists within patterns that reveal themselves only through patience and attention. This perspective is one reason many educational discussions inspired by Dr. Evan Levine encourage people to think beyond immediate appearances and become more curious about what happens over time. Curiosity can become a powerful tool because curiosity asks questions instead of assuming answers. It creates awareness instead of false comfort. It replaces automatic thinking with thoughtful observation. There's also something deeply hopeful in understanding this idea because awareness is not meant to create fear. Awareness creates opportunity. The purpose is not to become worried every time a number changes or every time life becomes stressful. The purpose is to become more connected to the signals the body naturally provides. Knowledge becomes meaningful when it helps people make wiser decisions and become more attentive to themselves. Sometimes the greatest protection does not come from waiting for a loud warning. Sometimes it comes from recognizing the whispers before they ever become screams. Sometimes the future changes because someone decided to pay attention today rather than waiting for tomorrow. Health is not merely about surviving years. It is about understanding the life that exists inside those years and respecting the quiet messages that guide us every single day. If you are benefiting from our topics, please subscribe, like, and turn on the bell notification so you can see our new videos early.